there's a lot of talk right now about the Department of Education and what's happening there. Is it closing all the way down? What's closing down? What's happening? What's going to happen to funding for public schools in our country? There's just a lot of things to cover, but I think the big question is funding. There's pros and cons to this on both sides, and we can talk about that all day long, but people have different opinions, of course. And so really, a lot of educators just want to get down to the nitty-gritty. What's going to happen to our schools? What's going to happen to the funding that our school receives, which benefits our students and our various programs like special education, like Title I, like the Child Nutrition Act. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. First of all, I think it's important to note that in public education, only 8% of funds come from the federal government. And I say only 8%, that equates to a lot of money, but the rest of the funding comes from state and local funds through property taxes, state incentives. There's a lot of things that the state already puts into public education, and each state is a little bit different. So if we're turning public education back over to the states completely, then they're going to possibly reanalyze how they allocate those funds and figure something out to meet that 8% deficit, hopefully, right? But in case they don't, or in case that 8% is still missing, which is what everybody is concerned about, we're going to talk about some innovative strategies to raise funds for public education and the programs that they need to support their students. First of all, grants. We know grants can be a tremendous asset to any public organization, and that is not any different for a public school. There are several thousands of grants out there that public schools can utilize in the classroom with technology, outside playground equipment. There's a grant for everything. So that is always an option. They can leverage technology, find new, revenues, streams of revenue and income. Nobody wants to talk about this, but they can look at the budget. We don't want to work harder. We want to work smarter. So look at the school budget and see what we could do there. That's, most schools are going to shake their heads at that because they don't even have the option to do that. They're stretched thin, but that is an option there. We also want to look at partnering with local companies and organizations, as well as national companies and organizations. There's a lot of funding there for partnerships between curriculum, between technology, different organizations that are also positive to have in a school setting, can benefit just by having that presence. Maybe it's a really wonderful nonprofit that is doing a great thing and they want to partner with your school. Maybe it's a big, tech company and they want to offer an incentive to your school. So those options are out there. In an ideal world, this 8% is not going away. We're not sure yet, but we definitely want to look at strategies and prepare for worst case scenario and hope for the best. At the end of the day, educators are going to get it done because they always do. They care about their students, they want them to be successful, and they will find a way to provide what they need while they're in their classroom or while they're in their school every day to make sure that they thrive as students and as individuals.